Good morning to all of you. Today we are going to discuss on the teaching of Vatican I. But in order to appreciate Vatican I and the teaching on the papal primacy and the papal infallibility, it would be good to understand the historical context. So today we have invited a church historian, a Salesian, Father Greg Bicomo, SDB, professor here at Don Bosco Center of Studies. Father June, we would like to understand the historical context of Vatican I and what led to that attitude of the church that's rather defensive and the mentality that is described by some historians and theologians as siege mentality.
When you say siege mentality, it means that you are somehow surrounded by opposing forces that is trying to capture this fortress. And that is actually the situation during the 19th century when the church feel that there are so many enemies, that she is surrounded by so many opposing forces, and that's the reason why there was this position of the church to be defensive, to protect herself, particularly her liberty, and of course her doctrine. And during the 19th century, there are actually these two different kinds of Catholics. There is the liberal Catholics, and there are these intransigent, conservative, or they call it the ultramontanist Catholics, wherein they try to promote the authority of the Pope. The liberal Catholics, these are the Catholics that they don't want to go back to the old mentality of the monarchy. They call it the age of absolutism, wherein there is the king, the authority, the absolute power belongs to him. And of course, during the age of absolutism, there's the Catholic Church. And the Catholic Church feels that she is comfortable with the age of absolutism because the king promotes religion, promotes morality. And then that was in the 16th, 17th, 18th century. And when you move towards the 19th century, there's this liberal mentality which was initiated by the Enlightenment. The Enlightenment, they don't want this, that you're always under the authority. They want to promote reason, science, what is observable as the basis of the truth, and not just something imposed by religion, by the authority, particularly by the Pope. Liberal Catholics, they want to be free from this authoritarian regime. And in fact, before the 19th century, there was the French Revolution. That was the climax of Enlightenment, wherein they want to be free from the tyranny of the king. And they want to express themselves through the Constitution. It's no longer the absolute power of the king. The authority of the king belongs to the people now. And how about the church? The church is a monarchy. Remember, the church has a papal states. And the papal state has been formed for 1,000 years. And in the medieval period, if you don't have a piece of land, territory, you have no power. So somehow the power of the church is also attached to the land, to the territory. The papal states is huge. It's almost half of the Luzon of the Philippines, no? And you can imagine how vast the land of the church at that time. And therefore, the Catholic Church has authority. The Pope is like a king. When Pope Pius IX became the Pope, somehow they wanted also a constitution in the papal states. And so Pope Pius IX, who was the longest reigning Pope, for 32 years he was the Pope. In 1848, because he was elected Pope in 1846, he gave a constitution. He formed a bicameral government. Unfortunately, in 1848, his prime minister was assassinated, and therefore he was forced to leave Rome. There was this liberal forces that attacked Rome. They really wanted a real constitution, not only for Rome but to the whole Italy. They were trying to unify the whole of Italy. So the Pope was forced to go to Gaeta. And there for 2 years, he realized these liberal ideas was really like a virus. It's like the coronavirus that was spreading and it was like a bacteria that eats the spirit of the Catholics, that the fruit of these liberal ideas is only revolution. And so from that time onwards, through the help of the French, he came back to Rome, and there, from 1850 onwards, he had this state of siege mentality because he realized that the Catholic Church is already being attacked by this virus, the liberal virus. It somehow threatens the doctrine, the dogmas, the Catholic faith itself. So the state of siege mentality is somehow a kind of a defense for the Catholic Church. And therefore, he made even a list of all the enemies of the Catholic Church in 1864. That was the syllabus of errors. There were 80 errors that were listed in that syllabus of errors. Plus, errors is not just, the errors of the Protestants. It is the errors of atheism, communism, agnosticism, liberalism. There are 80 of them. And so, what is the answer to this? It's the First Vatican Council, wherein they try to promote the infallibility of the Pope, because now with so many errors around, they don't know who's really talking with truth. Some of these liberal ideas, they're not really wrong. The liberal ideas are just saying that if the Catholic Church will not march with the people, they will continue marching without the Church, and perhaps even against the Church. But, the Catholic Church at that time was not really ready for that. Therefore, perhaps the one way to instruct and to guide the Catholics is the proclamation of the primacy and the infallibility of the Pope. Somehow, the Catholic Church wants to defend herself. The First Vatican Council is actually the triumph of the conservative, the intransigent Catholics, in order to protect the Catholic Church against all errors. But later on, you will see the Catholic Church will open up to the society, and that will happen only in the Second Vatican Council, where somehow the liberal Catholics triumph.
Thank you very much, Father Greg Picomo, for that insightful input about the history, the context behind Vatican I. By the way, you can catch Father Greg Picomo in St. John Bosco Parish in Makati, run by the Salesians. Again, thank you, Father Greg, and thank you for watching.
Thank you, Father Ray.